You're watching Telecom TV. I'm Guy Daniels, Director of Content. How has the telecoms industry kept businesses and societies connected, and how is it driving growth in the global digital economy? Digitisation has accelerated within telcos and their customers, and it is now incumbent upon service providers to maintain the pace of this transformation and capitalise on the opportunities. Well, joining me now to provide a telcos perspective on this is Luis Fiallo, who is Vice President of China Telecom Americas. Hello, Luis. Very good to meet you. Now, can I start by asking you, how has the perception of telcos from customers, from consumers, and also governments, how has this perception changed, do you think, as a result of the last 2 years?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the pandemic's had a massive impact on our whole industry in the world. But I think the changes that started happening happened prior to the pandemic. First of all, there was the issue of emerging technologies, things like Internet of Things devices, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and the use of cloud technology and edge computing technology at the edges. Started being deployed, prior to the pandemic. During the pandemic, we started seeing a lot more deployment of that. And obviously we had to build the resiliency of a network to be able to continue to support the larger number of people working remotely and being able to communicate, around the world. So for us, that was the first thing. The second thing we started seeing is that there's a massive amount of data being collected and computed and analyzed. And as a service provider, we obviously want to add value to our customers, not only provide them access to the technologies that they want, but also be able to help them with that information and assist them in getting that information out and being able to do something with it. And then the third component of all this is really the governments itself. In 2019, we saw the G20 summit that took place in Osaka, Japan, and where the leaders of the G20 countries were there talking about digitalization and what it meant to their countries. And essentially what they decided is that, identified is that, the whole, digitalization effort is really the new oil, right? Nobody still knows exactly what it's going to all mean, but they obviously see that as an opportunity to be able to help their constituents, their countries fit into the global world of digital communications. And as a result of that, there was a couple initiatives that were kicked off. One of them is the EU Digital Services Act. And the U.S. has several different initiatives that they're also pursuing. But also this brought attention to all the things that were happening during the pandemic. And obviously the pandemic just accelerated a lot of the things because we were forced to do this in a digital economy, and we're all of us remotely and working from other places and needing to communicate and still conduct our businesses regardless as to where we were residing at that time.
Great. Thank you, Luis, for that. Now, this digitalization, has it accelerated both within CSP operations and those of their customers? And are we really seeing evidence that digital adoption within consumer and enterprise sectors will continue post-pandemic?
Well, let's take a look at some of the metrics, right? By the year 2025, there's expected 42 billion devices being connected. Okay, the IP traffic globally right now is exceeding 400 exabytes of traffic. Okay, that's a large amount of data, right? And at the same time, we're starting to deploy new technologies that's just going to generate more and more data. An autonomous car in one day will generate 30 million pieces of data. Okay, so the beginning of what we're seeing, this digital revolution transformation is taking place, is just starting, right? Because a lot of these initiatives are just getting started, launched, and they're being commercialized. So the necessity to have a platform by a communication service provider that integrates all these components together is really important. And companies like ours has actually started several years ago, started building out infrastructure just to be able to tackle all these different things and put them together and make it useful for our customers. Because what you've seen is the migration from companies doing them themselves to putting everything into the cloud and to the edge to be able to do this. And they want to be doing it at their, under their control using our infrastructure. So it's a paradigm shift that's happening right now in our industry.
As you say, it's a major shift, and really we're just at the early stages of this. But how can the industry continue to maintain the pace of this transformation? What would you say are the key issues and challenges that still need to be addressed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us in the communication service provider space, we were always building point-to-point solutions to connect everything to the enterprise. Now we're taking all this information and we're connecting it to the cloud, and in the future to the edge, right? And now we have to go from edge back to the core, which is the enterprise, right? And along the way, you also have technologies now that are being utilized and deployed that's actually going to do the computing at the edge of the network. So for companies like us, we've actually taken an initiative to look at things as a two-level approach. One is the underlay, right? The infrastructure that you need, and traditionally known, our communication service providers are known for building the plumbing, right? The connecting all the networks together. And then everything, the overlay. Our focus is now really much more on the overlay and trying to build solutions for our customers to take advantage of the cloud, to be able to take advantage of edge, to be able to take advantage of new technologies and integrate them all into one common digital fabric, essentially, that we are building around the world. And today we have a lot of that deployed already. As for example, in our cloud infrastructure, today we have over 80 locations around the world that we connect to cloud providers. We have over 144 data centers that's part of our cloud infrastructure fabric that's connected already into our infrastructure. So our customers get access to our infrastructure, and they have access to all these locations around the world and all these different services, and many of them, which are not even ours, is provided by third parties. So, that's the direction I see that the whole communications service provider market is going to evolve to.
Well, Lewis, great insights. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your views on telecoms as the engine room of the digital economy. And you can view all of our interviews and panel sessions from DSP Leaders World Forum 2022 right here on the Telecom TV website. For now, though, thank you for watching and goodbye.